something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Well, howdy, folks. How are you? This very fine. Well, it hasn't been very fine, if I'm honest. Tuesday. It started out a little bit wet this morning around here, which sort of put paid, I thought, to appeared. The sun came out, things dried up. We got a few things done, which worked out quite well. And then the rain came back with a vengeance. So that sent me off on a little journey back onto the pad with the vibrating machine. Well, it was a fun 2 hours this afternoon. Did you see the little live from earlier today? Of course, it is the time of year where you see snakes getting around. I know some people are very uncomfortable with snakes. You prefer to see a dead snake than any snake at all. I'm not that way. And neither, thankfully, is the guy who found this little bloke who was wandering across the roads that we showcased in that video earlier today. It is the time of year now where the snakes are going to start to wake up. They've been hibernating through winter, or they just curl up, have a good sleep, stay out of the way. But sort of from September, late September through October, they really start getting on the move because it's the time of year for snakes. And this little bloke today, who wasn't so little, he was probably 1.5 meters long, he was looking for the baby plovers who've been living around a dam that we have here on the property. And mum and dad plover were very loud and very protective. They'd spotted this thing coming. But anyway, Dwayne picked it up and we've relocated it to a wood pile that it will no doubt really enjoy, because there's all sorts of things living in that wood pile that I'm sure it'll be able to feed on. So for those of you that are a bit queasy about snakes, don't go and watch the video that we put up earlier today. But please, if you do come across one, always be aware that unless you have experience, and many of you don't, at identifying snakes, let alone handling snakes, then the best thing you can do when you're confronted with finding one, because trust me, he's not looking for you, and I know you're not looking for him or for it, and you're both scared of each other. The thing is, the snake is as scared of you, if not more scared of you, than you are of it. Just imagine what you look like from the snake's perspective. It's lying down there at ground level, looking up at you, big feet, boots, implements of destruction and war. And all he's trying to do is get over to a little bit of water where he might be able to find a frog for breakfast. So if you come across a python, they're pretty easy to identify. Venomous snakes generally are easily identified, broadly speaking, but going into the specifics of species is a little bit difficult. Some will tell you, oh yeah, venomous snakes all have a diamond-shaped head, or all have a flat nose, or all have big scales over their eyes, and there is all those sorts of things that can help you identify. Keelback snakes, for instance, are going to be coming out now, and if you've got pool sources, might come and get a drink at different times of the day. If you have a creek, this is where keelbacks love to live, because they're a very aquatic snake and named a keelback because they have lines running down their body that acts like a keel in a boat, and then makes them very good swimmers. Whoops, bashing microphones. So not poisonous, do make a bit of a stink when you pick them up, but they're not venomous to us as such. They are venomous, but they're not venomous to us. But I would counsel you folks, don't handle them. I know there are plenty of blokes in barbecue shorts and thongs and stubbies in hand who come across a snake at a barbecue and say, "Oh, I'll look after it, kids. Don't worry about this," and they get tagged by an eastern brown. Now, unless you are a licensed handler and catcher of eastern brown snakes, can I suggest that you stay away from them? An eastern brown snake can bite you 6 times a second. Okay? Be like being hit by a machine gun. Whack, 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 whack. Very quick. Now, Gold Coast snake catcher mate of mine, Tony Harrison, got tagged by an eastern brown, I think for the 3rd time last snake season. Just pure fluke. He handles these snakes all day, every day. And there was one slight break in his concentration or whatever happened. The snake managed to get back on him and tagged him in the arm. Now, because Tony had been hit by an eastern brown snake twice before, I believe, he's had so much antivenom put into him, or antivenin, whatever you want to call it, in his previous 2 eastern brown bites, that he's no longer able to have it. So this time, he had to live through, or not, the experience of an eastern brown bite. Now, Reptile Relocations or Tony Harrison on Facebook, you can go and have a look at what they do. He and his wife Brooke are amazing. They've got a slew of snake catchers up and down the east coast of Queensland that are sort of all helping out each other. And they will travel a long distance to save a snake, folks, as long as you don't mind paying to have it saved. And of course, I know there are a lot of people who don't want to pay to save a snake. Well, then if you don't want to pay to save a snake, don't panic, right? Unless it's inside your house. And I have been lucky enough to find them inside houses, under fridges, under dishwashing machines, under washing machines. They get in behind your... Well, I'm probably scaring some of you. I won't go into it. But they can get in. If you leave doors open, they're going to get in. It's that simple. If you've got them around and they're following a mouse that might be around, then odds are they're going to follow it to wherever it goes. And if that's inside your house, it's inside your house. So I would call a snake catcher. If you find one inside your house, call a snake catcher. Don't go and handle them. Don't try and be the hero, because if you cannot identify the snake yourself confidently and know that it's, well, anything from a carpet python to a tree snake to a green tree snake or brown tree snake, or I don't know, eastern brown, red belly, black, all sorts of different snakes, particularly here in the southeast corner of Queensland. In fact, there are 21 different snakes that you will find just in the southeast corner of Queensland, just on the Gold Coast, and 21 different varieties, including some pretty nasty ones. There is a certain section of the Gold Coast hinterland. It's not very large, but a certain section of the Gold Coast hinterland that has death adders. And I filmed one of those once striking a mouse. 1/25th of a second is from a resting snake hitting the mouse and back resting again. And then it just waited and watched for the mouse to die and went over and ate it. Interesting times. I'll get off the snakes. G'day, Tim. Nice to see you first in tonight, mate. I hope things are going well. And that meeting that you got coming up in October, mate, I'm sure things will get sorted there with a bit of luck. What's going on here, Stu? I haven't seen... Okay, so we'll have to have a look at that, mate, and send me an email. Hello, Michelle. Lovely to have you in. Who else? Phil's in the house too. What happened in the Moscow airport? Phil, I am unaware. I have been doing crap all day. I've only sat down in the last hour or so to try and catch up on things. So I haven't seen anything weird. Oh, was taken out by drones. Well, if that's the case, if that's the Moscow airport taken out by drones, supposedly from Ukraine, then, yeah, well, could be interesting. Yes, what the sad news indeed. One of my inspirations in voiceover work, one of the greatest voiceover guys there's ever been, I think, and pretty good actor too, I think. James Earl Jones passed away, the voice of Darth Vader, amongst many other things. He was also the voice of Discovery, or Discovery Channel for many years, I think, going back. But yeah, brilliant actor, and the voice, the overdubbed voice of Darth Vader, the original British actor. You can actually look it up on YouTube. It's hilarious. The original British actor playing Darth Vader, and his voice just does not suit the role. Mind you, that's always something we can say in hindsight, because we know in our minds and whatnot what Darth Vader is meant to sound like, because that's what we've known all our life. So, all right. G'day, Angelina, Donna, Ads, Hookstagram, Pete from Pinnaroos in the house. G'day, Andy. Scott, nice to have you on board. Andrew Smith is in. And Sovereign Joe. Sunflower, God love you. Hope you and Rick are doing well, love. And Sandy, you're doing fantastic work with the adorable donkeys. Well, the wonderful Sandy and her other half, Baz, are donkey saviors. I think that's the only way you can possibly describe what they do. They rescue donkeys from all up and down the East Coast, and part of that requires a place to keep the donkeys while you're saving them, getting them from where they were to where they're going to be. And that usually requires something like a horse float, because you're not allowed to drag them along behind the ute these days. And it makes for a much slower trip. Or it goes the other way, and that's just worse. So Sandy and Baz need a bit of help. And we are I'm trying to find a trailer manufacturer or a horse float manufacturer who'll do us a bit of a deal. I've rung two, and one of them seemed quite keen and then won't talk to me anymore. And the other one I'm still waiting for a call back from. So I don't know what it is. But anyway, if you can help, Sandy has a GoFundMe page, and I will see if I can dig that up before the end of the show. Or Sandy, if you can post that in the comments. And go and click on that, folks. And if you've got a spare few bucks, you can donate. These donkey saving floats don't come cheap. This one needs to be for donkeys as such rather than horses, because they can put more donkeys in there than they can horses, donkeys being a bit smaller. So I believe the one they're trying to put together will be able to house up to sort of 4, 5 or 6 of them. But that requires things to be welded in appropriate places, and I suppose bins and feed and I don't know, whatever has to go into horse float. I should get Sandy on for a bit of an interview. She can tell us all about it. Be prepared, Sandy. I might give you a call. All right. I shall get out of the chat and get into a little bit of what's going on in the world. Now, I have to tell you, I threw this up the other day. More than 40% of the Aboriginal population are identity frauds, according to an Indigenous leader. Now, we know that there has been some significant issues going forward with being able to identify as a First Nations person. The problem's been nobody in the First Nations business has been standing up saying anything about it. Well, now, can I tell you, there is a lovely lady from Western Australia whose name is Madison King. She's taking over TikTok with truth. And I've got to say, she's starting with a really good one, the Welcome to Country ceremony. I'm not sure whether or not you're hearing that. Because for some reason, I'm not hearing that. I don't know whether or not you're hearing that or not. Are you guys hearing that? because for some reason I'm not hearing that. Right, Daniel's saying sound. No sound, right, no sound, right. Well, let me go and find out why that would be. I've got 3 other videos loaded up here, so maybe I need to try this again.
Me double down. See, Richard Wally and Ernie Dingo started this when they were inviting our New Zealand brothers from New Zealand, the Maori mob. So the thing is, they couldn't compete with New Zealand, so they had to make up bullshit. First and foremost, there was never any smoking ceremony for anybody. You don't go into a community and expect the whole community to come out and smoke you. You mob are dumb. You guys are dumb. You think the whole community is going to stop just for a couple of people and come in there and smoke you? That's not how it works. So your theory that it happens is bullshit. Secondly, smoking is about bringing in spirits or getting rid of them. Either way, it's about spirits. So all you Christian people that was walking through smoke, well, you're inviting the dead, and that's that simple. Thirdly, when, this is the disappointment with the old people that sat around and did nothing. This is the outcome. When you let a lie go on for that long, that people now think it's real, that this is what our culture is. Now it's just for entertainment. You look at all these people that go into boxing rings clapping sticks. Shame job. That's not our culture. And going out to football fields, carrying on with didgeridoos. Well, guess what? Didgeridoo only came from one area, and that's from the Northern Territory. It's one thing to do little entertainments, but put things into perspective. That's not our culture. We didn't just go around and have crobberies and stuff whenever we felt like it. There is a purpose and a meaning for it. And what an insult to all the mob that do crobbery still as a tradition, while you mob make a mockery out of it and turn it into entertainment and for money purposes. So yeah, I'm doubling down, and I'll continue to double down.
Madison comes from a community, that doesn't exist anymore, a community that is still known as Umbulgari, but Umbulgari closed down some time ago, and she now lives, I believe, further south in the Northern Territory or in Western Australia somewhere. I'm not exactly sure. All I can say is that she is a very wise woman indeed, and a brave one to come out and speak truth about the Welcome to Country ceremony. And, Ernie Dingo and his mate did all right out of that Welcome to Country ceremony, all things said and done. And
a lot of our language has been taken from the north down here to Noongar country, and it was being used at one point. My grandmother was one of those people that spoke up, and she said, you might better stop it. So we all know that Noongar country lost their language a long time ago. Listen to their language. Listen to it. It's repetitive. Clutching at straws. And that's Richard Wally and Ernie Dingo.
She doesn't mince words around the fraud, as she sees it, that was perpetrated not only against the white people of this country, but also to people like her, the people who live on country and continually have had to battle one way or another through life. Of course, it's hard to know that without acknowledging that there is another group of Indigenous Australians responsible for that. And Madison King doesn't mince it.
Aboriginal people from communities, we humble people. We don't need recognition. That is modern day shit. Modern day stuff that's taken away and bastardizing our culture and our traditions so that you will feel better about yourself. Well, you go to a community and you see how different the mob are compared to people in the city that will milk our culture and tradition for money. Now, I've had lots of people inbox me and tell me that in some cases, people are making up to $5,000 to $50,000 per show. Per show. Now, you think them people in the community are making that money? No, it's the Purple Circle. So when you go around clapping for all these people, you're clapping for only a small group of people. We already see in Aboriginal corporations our money being used and spent by the Purple Circle. They're not looking after our mob. So spare me the bullshit and watch me keep talking. I'll keep talking.
God love her. I hope to God she does keep talking, and hopefully she'll come on the Voice of Freedom. If anybody knows how to get a hold of her, point her out. Because that kind of truth needs to be spoken by the folks it most affects, or who have most been affected by the Purple Circle, as she puts it, the corporates, the land councils, the fraudulent people in their own community, robbing those in their own community. She does sound a bit pissed off, Donna, yes, but no one would blame her. And the fact is, as far as I'm aware, she is the first Indigenous woman, at least, that I have seen stand up and tell these truths. And I'm not sure why I'm not seeing more. Well, that's untrue. There are Indigenous blokes getting out there doing that, particularly in the Northern Territory. But we should be seeing it more. And I encourage her to, keep going, keep spreading the word, because I think she has the ability to engage an audience and speak truth. And I hope that works on both sides. I fear for her because there is a lot of vested interest in the Purple Circle. There's a lot of people hanging off the tit of the Purple Circle and a lot of people hanging off those people. So to disrupt the Purple Circle and that money flow could potentially be quite a dangerous situation for her. So I do hope that she is taking appropriate precautions. It leads me to something else that I found a little bit strange. Headlines that have come out over the last couple of days. This was a good one. The oldest known boomerang has been found in Poland. Now, if you're like me, you probably thought the boomerang was an Australian Indigenous item, generally used for hunting by our Indigenous brothers. Now, the world's oldest known boomerang has been found in a Polish cave. It's some 20,000 years or 23,000 years after the device was made from the tusk of a mammoth. The researchers said that they call the 2-foot-long device a boomerang because of its shape, rather than any proven ability to return to the person who throws it. Right. Now, the returning ability may be affected by flaws in the manufacturing or by later damage, and it is impossible to verify in an archaeological specimen, said the researchers from the Polish Academy of Sciences at Krakow. Maybe they should send it here to Australia and let us examine it. We'll get back to it. Boomerangs were used on virtually all inhabited continents in ancient times. I didn't realise. And an Iron Age wooden boomerang has been found in the Netherlands, for example, and a possible boomerang from a mammoth bone has been found in Austria, stretching back 35,000 years. So I thought our Indigenous folks had been here for over 60,000 years and the boomerang was theirs. Now, I understand throwing sticks at things to kill them may have been great and very useful back in the day. Certainly, our Indigenous ancestors found it very useful. There are two things you need to know about boomerangs. Not one boomerang does everything. You can have a boomerang that you can throw that comes back to you, which is great, because if you miss the target, if you miss what you're trying to hit with it, which will be a bird or kangaroo maybe. If you miss it, you don't want to have to go running up the paddock to pick up your stick to have another go at it. The kangaroo will be miles away. So you'd like to have it returned to you. But in most instances, a hunting boomerang is very different. It flies regardless. So, yeah, boomerangs that return to you are a bit of fun, but not terribly useful hunting. Boomerangs that fly through the air like an aerodynamic wing, carry some weight behind them, and can stun or kill whatever that hits in the head, were pretty useful. So that's the boomerang culture, at least my understanding of it from some Indigenous folks that I know. But to now find that apparently, and it wouldn't be surprising to use something like a mammoth tusk. You've got to think it'd be pretty hard. However, it would need to be split in half, and I think they're reaching for straws. Anyway, I thought it was interesting, given everything else that we're talking about tonight with Indigenous, that the Polish are now claiming the oldest boomerang in the world. Here's something else that happened. The CDC has withdrawn support for PCR tests. Now, that has been on the list of things in the US that many citizens there have had to suffer because the emergency laws enabling them to stick a pointed stick up your snoz and tickle your brain were still in place. Now, that obviously isn't happening here in Australia anymore, so it's nice to see that the Yanks are finally catching up. And weird it is that it's taking so long there, although we might get to find out why that is in the very near future. We've spoken about AI on this program quite a lot. We've had a bit of fun with it making songs, and in fact, a bit of serious fun with it making songs with Tim's great little number, still gaining lots of views on the YouTube channel, and I think Rod Cullerton is playing it at just about every one of his meetings and events and speaking engagements, and I think in anything that he's putting online too. So good luck. But AI, well, how far can it go? Well, the UK are going to find out. The UK's first teacherless AI classroom is set to open in London. A private school will open the first classroom taught by artificial intelligence instead of human teachers. They say the technology allows for precise, bespoke learning, while critics argue AI teaching will lead to a soulless, bleak future. Oh, really? A soulless, bleak future? I can understand that. My question is, if you are going to have AI teachers, how are you going to control the classroom? Kids are rowdy. Kids are, boisterous. Kids talk. They don't concentrate. They do things they shouldn't do in class all the time. A live teacher, worth their salt, usually catches that and tries to bring them all back into line and doesn't create too many dramas out of it. What happens when the eye on the wall above the screen that's teaching your child decides it's lost control and has to regain control of the class? Exactly how does that work? Well, I would say if you're going to have an AI-controlled class, then you need to have a purpose-built AI-controlled classroom. And that would mean that you could secure the child to the desk if you had to. I don't know how you make a child comply. See, many of you, along with me, would remember the days of corporal punishment in school, getting the cuts. 6 of the best. Did you get them on the hand? I'd like to say hello to Jim Sawyer, my grade 6 teacher. The first time I had ever seen anyone get the cuts in anger. I was in grade 5, I think. And he was very good. He had this nice brown, I still remember it, brown leather belt that was about 2 inches thick. It was about a little bit under 2 feet long. And you'd hold your hands out in front, and he would stand in front of you, and he would literally whip the skin off your forearms. 3 each hand. Whack, whack, whack. And that was if you'd done something really, really, really bad. And then I went to boarding school where they had a cane, which thankfully I never experienced. And we had Roger. Roger was around the waist of one of the priests. That priest happened to be controlling the dorms at night and patrolling them quietly. He knew where every creaky board was and how to avoid them. He could walk silently through that place like you wouldn't believe. And if you heard anybody talking, it was late study. And if you got caught talking in late study, then you got 6 on the arse with Roger. And Roger was a fan belt of a car. I got 6 off the arse of Roger one night. And you could pour water down the tracks it left across my bum. Made it very uncomfortable to sit down for many, many days. But I don't know how we got onto that. All right. More serious things. Telegram are going to stop their encryption, peer-to-peer encryption service. Now, this is on the back of the owner of, or the CEO at least, of Telegram being arrested and thrown in a jail. Pavel Durov, of course, we're talking about. Now, he's been thrown in jail because he's been accused of allowing all sorts of major crime to go quiet, go invisible, because of the encryption algorithms used in messaging within Telegram. So now, very quietly, Telegram have turned that off, probably at the insistence of Pavel, who is being pressured by those who have him in custody. Not terribly nice at all. I haven't spoken to anybody in America. I did try yesterday and today to see if I could confirm this bit of news, but I don't have any real reason to doubt it at this stage. It does seem there are a lot of National Guard on the move. Now, a lot of National Guard infrastructure being moved on the rail networks at the moment, and there does appear to be quite a number of military types, particularly in the major eastern and western coast cities, West Coast particularly. So, I don't know. We'd like to think that martial law may be coming, but we've been waiting for the EBS for how long now? So I take that one with a pinch of salt. I don't think we haven't touched on it in a little while, but it is becoming quite apparent that the stories coming out of funeral homes regarding what they're finding in the bodies of those folks who've passed away unexpectedly. And another, I don't know, half a dozen of them went over the weekend, a couple of famous ones as well. There was a father, I think, a Darwin man who flew to Bali and got to the arrivals hall in Bali and keeled over. They pronounced him dead at the hospital. No apparent reason. Well, there might be a reason, but nobody at this point seems to admit it. But when those people wind up at a funeral home and they get embalmed, the embalmers are finding, and if you've got a queasy stomach, close your eyes, they're finding these kind of clots coming out of veins. And so that is a vein with a clot that starts at the very top and goes 2/3 of the way down through it. It's a pretty ugly thing, and it is continuing. Now, we understand and know why that's happening to those people specifically, because it's not happening to anyone who didn't go and get this done. What we aren't seeing is action from any official agency other than potentially Senator Malcolm Roberts and One Nation. I'm not sure that they've been deep on it yet too. But we're seeing nobody trying to find out why this is happening, why all of a sudden funeral homes are pulling out blood clots that are, 10 inches to 2 feet long, depending on what artery they're coming out of and how big it is. We've got to start pressuring for an inquiry, but who? Who do we pressure? They're watering down the spicy cough inquiry that Albanese put forward. They're not going to allow, or never allowed, the one that Roberts was putting forward. The Royal Commission that was promised has now turned into an inquiry rather than a Royal Commission. And even still, they have ways of suppressing the truth in Royal Commissions as well, sadly. They use legal loopholes and bastardry to do it. And it has to friggin' stop. It has to stop. And it can only stop if one of you stands up. Speaking of standing up in your local community, I want to take my hat off to my very, very dear friend, Tony Alvarez, in Oberon. Now, we stayed at Tony's magnificent estate, the Lake Oberon estate, when we were down there a couple of months ago. And he gave me a bit of help with the bus too, with the lights. God love him. But Tony has decided to stand up in the Oberon area, and he's running for council. Now, they're in pre-polling down there at the moment, local council, and Tony's been out on the hustings. I spoke to him yesterday at length for some time, and I couldn't wish him more of the best luck in the world. But it shouldn't take luck to elect a man like Tony Alvarez to your local council. And I'm sure you have a bloke like Tony Alvarez in your town, and maybe you've got a number of them, because you're going to need a number of them. One's not going to do it. One is one voice on 9, or 1 of 9, or 9 of 1 of 13, or however many councillors you've got. You need a majority, and that means you need a lot of like-minded people standing up. Now, the issues that motivated Tony, are plenty, but the big ones down there at the moment are these wind farms that they're putting up. Absolutely atrocious. And they're ruining great farming land for it. This is what I don't understand. We are losing top quality farming land, able to grow really good food, so that instead of planting food, we can plant concrete, steel, or aluminium, and I don't know, 250,000 acres of the most ridiculous solar-powered bloody cells you've ever seen in your life. This is going to kill us all. It'll make the rich richer, but we are going to starve. The rich, if you hadn't already noticed, the elites, the UN of the world. Somebody just drove past my bus on the wrong side of the bus. It's a bit weird. The rich of the world are already rich, and they're just using us to comply. Well, we comply. They're maintaining their wealth or growing it vastly while we suffer. By getting people like Tony Alvarez, and maybe you, standing up at a local, a state, and a federal level, it's the only way we're going to be able to change things. So if you are in the Oberon Council area, please look out for Tony Alvarez's name on the ballot sheet. He's a very approachable man. If you don't find him at the pre-polling, which he's been there every day so far, I think, for the last week, go and catch him up, have a chat, see whether or not you can't give him your support. You'll find that it will be very, very, he's a wonderful human being. And get up, folks. You need to be doing this in your area too. You really do. How's this piece of work? Oh, my God. Has there ever been a more obvious way of showing that not only is the sport, I say that in inverted commas, of breakdancing a joke, but the people who run the sport of breakdancing are either corrupt, inept, or absolutely stupid to award Reagan #1 worldwide breaker status. #1. Now, she didn't come last in the Olympics. Many people said, oh, she came last, she came last. She didn't come last. There was one other person behind her. They were disqualified. She didn't get a point in the Olympics. The people that won the gold, the lady that won the gold, the lady that won the silver, and the lady that won the bronze were not included in any of the world rankings at all. Funnily enough. At all. Did not appear. I'm not sure that the first 15 best breakers in the world appeared at all in this list, because you've got to assume that all of them were at the Olympics and beat Reagan soundly, dominantly, embarrassingly. And now the mainstream media keep throwing this distraction up for us to feast on. The little trip around Europe after the Olympics were to take a cruise with Richard Branson and By George, or whatever he is. And she has the pictures to prove it. Did a little interview spot with Branson on the boat. And that'd be exactly the boat, the place to do it, where anything goes on the Virgin boats, essentially. I do mean anything. So anyway, Reagan, #1 world breaker, #1 embarrassment to the nation at this point in time. I think we should look on something that I think has a little more truth to it than Reagan being the #1 breaker in the world. Medbeds coming to our place near you, well, maybe soon. Introducing the Celestial Medbed Pod. Now, this is a multifaceted healing solution combining cellular response, ozone, negative ion, and vibrational therapies with far infrared heating for a comprehensive wellness experience. This sounds like something I would really like to try. This state-of-the-art pod features a terahertz mattress to enhance cellular communication, alongside customizable comfort with music connectivity via Bluetooth or USB. Discover innovative health benefits with graphene heating and chromotherapy, alongside gyromagnetic therapy for relaxation and recovery. Enjoy therapeutic acoustic sounds and grounding benefits during your sessions, all within this single efficient unit. The Celestial Medbed Pod is your personal retreat for personal wellness, relaxation, and holistic healing, designed to rejuvenate both body and mind. Called the Backstar, well, maybe 7. Where can you buy it? Where can you see it? Where can you get it? No knowledge of that just yet. Unaware. Don't know what's going on. So I don't know how we best view that. Skeptically? Maybe. I do believe medbed technology is available. Whether it's available on the earth, I'm not completely sure. But I do believe there is that sort of technology available. And frequency healing. I have done a lot of research into frequency and vibrational healing. Vibration frequency is exceptionally important, and I believe can disintegrate cells if you know the right frequency to hit. I've wanted to find a frequency generator and start playing, but there are a great many frequencies that you can play in, and I have been advised that if I don't really know what I'm doing, I can do a great deal of damage as well as a great deal of good. So I've backed away from that thought just a little bit. But if you're into it and you know more about it than me, and that wouldn't be hard, and it's something you want to experiment with, I'd love to come and be part of that with you, and we can film that and show just what frequency and vibration can do. And there are some great examples of experiments we could do, I suppose. But I know there are many of you who used Rife machines, and some in particular. Margie, God love you. I hope you're okay after your surgery. Margie had limited benefit with her Rife machine, but now she's, I think she's been actually gone back to it and had some limited benefit from it. She has also tried a great many other techniques to try and ease her pains, and has had some pretty solid, respectful results with frequency and vibration. So I think it was Margie that had that. It might be wrong. I'll stop talking about that, and she'll start saying, "Carl, you're an idiot." That wasn't me. But Margie, I know you were in hospital for surgery recently. I think you'll probably be home by now. I should give you a call. But God love you. I hope all that is going down well. Let me have a look at what else I've got floating around in here. There were a couple of interesting videos that popped up recently. One that sadly is probably going to be more prevalent in the UK and Europe. However, at the rate we seem to be getting immigrants coming into this country without proper backgrounding, we're probably going to wind up seeing these being offered to us through your nearest menswear or fine ladies wear store in the near future. Anti-stab vests coming to a clothing store near you soon. Available to the public. Why? Because a whole bunch of immigrants, illegal or otherwise, are coming up and stabbing you. There was very graphic footage in America the other day of a police officer who was calling on a fella to see that he was all right. This fella's just pulled a knife and run up to the copper, stabbed him straight away. A knife is very hard to defend against if they get close to you. And if you're, that's why police officers like to stand away from you until they know you're not armed. Because if you've got a knife and you're within 3 good steps of somebody who is motivated with a knife and you don't know they've got one, they can stab you 2 or 3 times before you realize what's happened to you. So that's why you see that little bit of distance maintained. But these stabbing vests, well, we've seen the stabbings that have happened, particularly in the UK of late. And those ones, I've got to say, look pretty stylish. You didn't really realize that they were wearing one until, well, the front started moving on one of them. I wonder about the sides, and I wonder what sort of neck protection there is as well, because a lot of these bastards come from behind and go for the neck. So, but at any rate, I guess having it is better than not having it. But would you wear one? Is that the kind of thing you would wear daily if you were going out? Let's say you had to work in a big city somewhere. Are you that concerned that you're going to get singled out for that sort of treatment? Could be a problem. But at any rate, it's just a sad indictment, I believe, on the world, and what's going on with us at the moment. It's not. This isn't the world we should be in. I found myself thinking about the 10 Commandments today for some, I don't know. I was on the vibrating bloody Duvamajaki thing over there. I mean, fair dinkum, that thing is one hell of a vibrator. I mean, I know there are women who can kickstart a vibrator in Sydney, but this thing is unbelievable. We had a good bit of rain today, and the pad's got to be a bit wet because we're still trying to pack it, keep it packed. And I wanted to see where the water was running today after a good rain, and turns out there's water running in places we really don't want it to. So we played around with that a little bit, tried to pack that down a bit more. But I am amazed at these whacker-packer machines. Got to say, there is an element of fun being around the property, and it's nice to be wanted to do something. So I'm enjoying getting out and doing stupid things, and the chainsawing is back on tomorrow if the rain is off. Do you want to see something? I don't know if it's sad or if it's funny. I prefer to think that it's sad. This is a recent interview Joe Biden has given to an American television network, and the anchor is asking Biden to afford an investigation into the University of Delaware the same leeway and functionality as an investigation that they did into Trump. And it's not a very hard question, but watch how this is handled.
I'm absolutely certain.
Why not approve a search of her name in those records?
Approve a search of her name?
Yes, and reveal anything that might be related to Tara Reid in the University of Delaware records.
There is nothing. They wouldn't. They're not there. And if it's, I don't understand the point you're trying to make.
The point I'm trying to make is that
there are no personnel records by definition.
The point I'm trying to make is that you are approving and actually calling for a search of the National Archives records of anything pertaining to Tara Reid. I'm asking why not do the same in the University of Delaware records, which have raised questions because they were supposed to be revealed to the public and then they were sealed for a longer period of time. Why not do it for both sets of records?
Because the material in the University of Delaware has no personnel files, but it does have a lot of confidential conversations that I had with the president about a particular issue, that I had with the heads of state of other places, that would not be something that would be revealed while I was in public office or while I was seeking public office. It just stands to reason, to the best of my knowledge, no one else has done that either.
I'm just talking about her name, not anybody else in those records. A search for that. Nothing classified with the president or anybody else. I'm just asking, why not do a search for Tara Reid's name in the University of Delaware records?
Look, I mean, who does that search?
The University of Delaware. Perhaps you set up a commission that can do it. I don't know. Whatever is the fairest way to create the most transparency.
Well, look, Mika, she said she filed a report. She has her employment records still. She said she refiled a report.
I don't know how they're letting him out. I suppose they've got to occasionally, but it's shockingly embarrassing. So too is the fact that I started off talking about the 10 Commandments and wound up playing Joe Biden. Beg your pardon. So yeah, there I was hanging onto the concrete vibrator out here today, and I'm thinking about the 10 Commandments. I don't know why these thoughts came into my mind, but I got to thinking about them, and I first of all started to go through them. Can you name the 10 Commandments? I'm not going to now, but to show you up. But can you name the 10 Commandments? The message that I was sort of got, if you like, while I was thinking about this was many people, I think, today believe the Ten Commandments were something of a top 10 delivered over 2,000 years ago. A top 10 like you'd think about music, for instance, or top 10 lists. And that allows for a mindset of subjectivity to set in. Oh, well, I don't like that song so much. I don't know why it's number one. You know, I like the song at number 2 better than I like the one at number 1. That kind of thing. The Ten Commandments are not like that. They're not subjective. They're not really open to interpretation. If you live your life to the Ten Commandments, you will live a good life. You won't hurt others. You won't be hurt. Well, there's no guarantee you won't be hurt, but you'll give yourself the best opportunity to live the best life possible and have a stronger soul for the journey. I guess this partly, because I'm not one to really talk about religious things or the Ten Commandments, but I guess this probably came back to me because at some stage of the last couple of days, the Ten Commandments came up somewhere in conversation. And I remember at the time thinking, oh, gee, that's a bit odd, the way that the conversation went. And so today, I guess the message that I want to say about the Ten Commandments is they're not delivered as the number 1 reason or the number 10 reason. They're not delivered in any order. They are all as important as each other. You follow them all as best you can. There is no order to follow them in. You don't get more points for following number 1, less for following number 10. You need to follow them all equally. So rather than viewing, and I think a lot of people today view everything regarding the Bible skeptically, I think what they should be doing, those skeptics of the Bible, maybe should be looking into what's happening in Iraq and Iran at the moment with some archaeological discoveries. The King Og, the grave of King Og has been discovered. The grave of King Og may sound a bit strange. Have you ever heard of Og? A cartoon character or something like that. But in antiquity, King Og was the last of the giants. And what have they found? Well, they found a bed that's 14 foot long and 9 feet wide. They've found a grave with a body that's over 11 feet tall, has a very large head, and seems to fit with the Og story. Could it be that much of the Bible is starting to come alive? It's just that mainstream media is keeping it from us. The Euphrates River is drying up, has dried up. It is exposing amazing things in its bottom. That sounds a bit weird. But in the depths, hitherto hidden by waters, they're finding some amazing things, including something called, the Tomb of the Angels or the Jail of the Angels, depending on how you translate it. And that would, I think, relate directly to the biblical story of 4 angels who were cast out from heaven and who were buried under the Euphrates River, with the prophecy that if the Euphrates ever dried up, that they would come out and cause havoc on the earth. You might have heard the numbers seem similar, the 4. So Go and do a little bit of research into what's being dug up around the world at the moment. There is some amazing shit coming out of the ground. And the more and more and more I see it, the more and more I am inclined to believe that this world gets wiped clean every so often. And when I say wiped clean, I mean wiped clean. Pole shifting, continent changing, everything changes on the face of the earth. Whether that's a round earth or a flat earth, I don't know. But it does explain why we are finding cities buried under sand dunes, why we are finding tombs of giants, for the want of a better term, in Iraq and in Iran and in other places through there. In fact, the Golan Heights is also an area of great interest for this. In fact, I think Og might have been found in the Golan Heights. So I think the Golan Heights are now a topic of interest for Israel again. Watch this space. I think there's going to be a lot more to come from that little particular area just between you, me, and the gatepost. Conor McGregor is going to run for Irish president or prime minister, I think it is, Irish prime minister. What is he running on? Immigration. There will be mass deportations if he is elected head of country, and they will start immediately. That is his base platform. How many more patriotic folk in Europe are we going to see stand up like Conor McGregor has in Ireland and say, well, this isn't on. And if you elect me and many like me, we are going to send these people home, back to their home, especially the ones that have come through without too much checking. And we are getting a ton of them from Gaza right now. So, yeah, be aware of that. What else did I have to show you tonight, folks? I just see if I've got a video floating around here. Was there a video left? No, I think I played them all for you. All right, so might love you and leave you for that for tonight. We have, I'll leave you with this for a lovely picture. That's Fearless. He's doing all right, in case you were wondering. Still slurping down milk and acting more like a dog every day. So thank you to everybody who's asked about Fearless and those who've offered to give him a home. No need. He's got one here. He never has to go anywhere as far as we know. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I saw that one pop up there in the chat as I flicked back. So thank you very much, folks. We can always do with your help. If you'd like to be a member, we'd love you to be one. $1.25 a week from as little as, or you can make a donation at vofhq.com. I haven't spoken to Vince in the last couple of days, but I am planning on catching with him hopefully tomorrow if he's awake. And we're working on a couple of other little things. Well, I've been working on a couple of little things in the background, but I need his help to try and bring them to fruition. Hopefully in the next week or so, we will have some new exciting things for you. And being a member will help you access those new and exciting things. But I understand it's not for everybody. And hey, that's okay. If you can like and subscribe, help get the message out. If you think there is any benefit in what I'm saying to you, then please share that message. Remember that the 10 commandments aren't a top 10. If you look at them simply, live life that way, and it's not a hard way to live your life, you're going to give yourself the best chance of getting back to your rightful place after this life. Raise your vibration, folks. Raise your vibration. We all need to raise our vibration. And I'm trying. That's why I'm hanging on to that vibrator. All of me is vibrating. And it's vibrating much faster, much harder than it's ever vibrated in its bloody life, can I tell you. So, good luck with your vibration. And if you are raising your vibration on the road, keep your eyes open because the dickheads might be vibrating a whole other different way.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!